With me on stage today, we have the lovely Valerie. She is here to give you our first insight session of the event. So I'm delighted to welcome her. Hello, Valerie.
Hi, hello, thanks for having me.
No problem at all. So Valerie is actually the founder of a social media consultancy for the travel and hospitality business. And she is also Mason Rose's social media consultant. So she's got a lot of experience. And today she's going to do a session on Instagram. So she's got 10 fantastic points to share with you. So Valerie, I'm going to leave it to you. If anyone has any questions afterwards, please do feel free to pop them in the chat, and Valerie will be able to help you. So over to you, Valerie.
Thank you, Kim, and hello, everyone. Let me just start sharing my screen. Perfect, thank you very much. Okay, so when the Mason Rose team and I were chatting about what would be most useful for me to share as part of this insight session, I think one of the key things that came up straight away was the challenge that it presents to run an Instagram account or social media presence at a time when there are still so many travel restrictions. And so it's really something that we heard from both sides. What should we be posting right now? Does it make any sense to be posting? Should we be promoting? How can we do so in a way that is respectful of the current situation and sensitive? And so this is really what I'm going to try and shed some clarity on today as part of this presentation, and really talk about all the things that you can be doing now in preparation for when travel resumes. So Kim has already done a lovely introduction of me, so I won't say too much more here, but if you're wondering why I'm qualified to be talking about this topic today, some of my past clients since the beginning of the pandemic, and obviously before then, have included hotels, DMCs, travel agents, tour operators, wellness retreats, luxury destination wedding planners, and chefs, both in the UK and internationally. And so what I'm aiming to do with this session is really kind of combine all of that knowledge and experience I've had since the beginning of the pandemic to give you 10 easy actionable steps that you can follow over the months to come to really prepare ahead of travel returning and keeping you going and growing beyond that point. So it's not going to be one of those sessions where I ask you to put your phone away and focus solely on me. I would much rather you keep your phone with you because we're going to be going over a lot of different Instagram features, and I would like you to try and interact with Instagram so you know where everything is. And if you're not sure about anything, just pop it on the chat, the stage chat, and then I will be answering your question either during the presentation or at the end. If there's any question in particular that you're really hoping to have answered by the end of this session, please do feel free to pop this in the chat right now, and I will get to it at the end of the session. Okay. So a lot of you will probably be familiar with a marketing and sales funnel. In the case of Instagram, there are really 4 major steps that you need to be aware of. The first one being when someone comes into contact with your Instagram page for the first time. And then the second step is them actually looking at what they're seeing, liking what they're seeing, and following you. The third step, which is the step where most travelers are going to be right now, is deciding whether you want to stay at the property if you're a hotel, or if you want to book or work with that particular business if you're an agent. And so that's really something that's addressed through content. And again, something that's the stage where most people are right now. And lastly, the 4th stage of the funnel is conversion. And so what I wanted to do with this session is really give you tips that are going to apply at every stage of the funnel. So what you can expect today is a few tips on how to increase your visibility, followed by a few things that you need to have on your profile to inspire a follow from the people visiting your page for the first time. We'll then talk a lot about content and how you can use content to build what I call know, like, and trust. So people getting to know your property or your business, liking it, trusting it, to eventually lead to conversion. And so we will address the question, should you be promoting right now? And heads up, you should. And how to do so in a way that is still going to be respectful and, again, sensitive. Okay. So let's get into the first step. The first step is to re-optimize your Instagram bio. I don't know when is the last time you changed your bio, but there are 2 things that I want to draw your attention to. So I've pulled Mason Rose bio on my screen just so you can see what I mean. So there are two parts of your bio that are searchable. There is your username just here, and by all means that should definitely be the name of your business. And then you've got the name section just here. And this section is going to be very important because if it's searchable, it means that it's a way for people to find you when they search on Instagram. So here, for example, I have put the name Mason Rose. I also have three keywords here that people might look for on Instagram to find Mason Rose. But if you're a hotel, for example, you would have the name of your hotel just here. Make sure you have the term hotel if it's not a part of your name, and then your location. Because if you take, for example, someone looking for, I don't know, let's say a hotel in the Bahamas, they will not search for the name of your hotel. They will search for specific keywords like Bahamas hotels, Hotel Bahamas, something like that. And so that's why you want to have keywords here so you can be found that way. And if you're not quite sure what the right keywords are, do feel free to kind of mix them around every now and then so that you can find the best combination for you. I've also included here a little bio formula that is really more to inspire people to follow you than to be found, because it's not a section that is searchable. But just to briefly go over it, you would start with a brief description of your business. So again, I'm showing Mason Rose. If you're a hotel, it's very likely what you already have on your bio right now. Then I always like to include, if you have the space, an authority marker. So if you were an agent, for example, it's an accreditation of sort. If you are a hotel, that could be an awards that you've won, a mention in the press, something like that. And lastly, a call to action to encourage people to click the link in your bio. So I've got an example for Mason Rose, but for a hotel, it could be book now or something similar that you're looking to promote. The second step that I do recommend you take during this time is freshening up your hashtag groups. So we tend to use the same hashtags again and again. So I do recommend looking at your insights to see if your current hashtags are still performing well. And one easy way to do that is if you go on your last post, for example, and tap insights and you swipe up, you will be able to see a little bit further down the page how many impressions your post got thanks to your hashtags. So this will tell you how well your hashtags are performing. So you want to have a little look at that. And if you find that not many people are finding you through hashtags, then it might be time to just look for a few new ones. And you can do this by really asking yourself, what would someone search for on Instagram in order to find my property or my business? And then kind of look at the different hashtags that would fit this description. And you want to be looking for hashtags that have somewhere between, that really depends on the size of your Instagram account, but let's say somewhere between 1,000 posts and 500,000 posts. Anything above that, if you're a small account, it's unlikely to drive much traffic, but we can talk about individual cases on another occasion. And the last way that I wanted to mention for you to be able to gain some visibility right now is going to be Instagram Reels. So I have filmed my screen a little earlier today so you can see what the Reels are. They are essentially 15 to 30-second videos, and they are being pushed by Instagram all over the platform. So I know it can feel a little bit daunting to start working with those, but you don't have to shoot new content. You can just upload past videos that you have. If you have horizontal videos, you can also stretch them so they fill the screen if that works. Or you can also, I believe, upload them horizontal, but usually doesn't work quite as well. In terms of what your Reels should be about, if you're a hotel, it would be great to showcase your destination, property, experiences, and any sort of behind the scenes content. If you do, well, I was going to say events, you're not really necessarily doing events now, but things happening behind the scenes with your team. Okay, and now we're moving in terms of what is going to inspire a follow from people. So we already mentioned your bio, which is going to tell people what it is that you do, obviously, and why they should follow you. And then your story highlights is, in my opinion, one of the most unutilized features of Instagram. I find that a lot of people usually don't have them, or they have some, but it's kind of categorized by type of content more than strategically thought through in terms of story highlights being an extension of your website. Because when someone finds your property or your business on Instagram, they're not necessarily going to tap the link straight away to go and find out more about you. They tend to, use stay on Instagram first before eventually tapping to find out more. So depending on what your business is, that's going to look a little bit different. I've showed what it would be for Mason Rose here with about, team, services, events, clients. If you're a hotel, it might make sense to have a highlight for accommodation where you can show the different type of rooms that you have, one for your restaurants, cafes, bar, one for experiences, because obviously this is massive. People don't necessarily just stay on the property. They want to see what else you can be doing around the property, but also at the property, of course. Events, if you have any, as well as reviews from past customers. And the fifth step that I have for you, and that's also one that's going to allow you to attract people and make them want to follow you, and it's going to be the imagery that you use. Now, Instagram is, your feed no longer has to be as perfect as it once had to be. I think it's changed a little bit. People want more authenticity. However, travel is visual and Instagram is still a very visual presence, so it's definitely worth paying attention to the content that you're putting out there. Now, from all of the accounts I've worked with, I've gathered 4 key points, 4 little advice that I have for you in terms of grabbing people's attention with your photos. I do recommend you check your stats again for your particular account, as that might be different. And an easy way for you to do that, if you have your phone at hand and you're on your Instagram, if you tap the little hamburger menu top right hand side and then insights, posts, I believe you'll be able to sort your post by likes, by comments, by follows, by all sorts of metrics over 7 days. 1 month and 2 years doesn't really matter. But if you do that, you will be able to see common points between all of your top performing posts. But to give you an overview of what I have noticed from working with Mason Rose and hotels in the past, so my first tip is to use vertical images. It works better than square images or horizontal images, purely because it takes more space on the screen, so it's easier to grab people's attention that way. My second tip is to avoid logos on the actual image, white frames around the image. That one looks very pretty, but the only thing is, again, it just diminishes the amount of space that the photo takes, so less good to grab people's attention. If you have a photographer to credit, never put it on the image itself. I recommend putting it in the caption, because of course you should always credit, but do this in the caption and tag the photographer in the image. Just don't put the credit on the image itself. Lastly, I've also noticed that when you've got branded lines over the image, say your brand colors are blue and you do like a square above the image in blue, typically that doesn't work as well. And the reason why, I was going to say authenticity, but I don't think it's the word that I'm looking for, because I mean, obviously there's Instagram in real life versus reality. I think it's more, it looks commercial. I think it looks more commercial if you've got the branded lines over, and I think that's possibly why I've noticed that it doesn't have as much of an impact or as much engagement as a result. Another tip I had was to avoid close-ups of photos that are too zoomed in, and to give you an easy example of that, if you're a hotel and say you're posting photos of a bedroom, if you post a photo of a bedroom, like maybe, I don't know, a corner of the bed with a fluffy pillow, beautiful lamp, like beautiful, gorgeous shot, but that is likely not going to work quite as well as if you do a photo of the full room. And I've noticed that for several hotels, so do check if that's the case for you as well. And then my last tip is to use lifestyle images rather than brochure shots, which again look more commercial. And by that I mean, if we stay with the example of a bedroom, because that seems to be what's on my mind, say it's a photo of a bed that's slightly undone and there's a breakfast tray because the person has had breakfast in bed, rather than a perfectly well-made, beautiful bed. So it's just a way for people to kind of imagine themselves interacting with the hotel, rather than something that's going to look too polished. So I hope that is helpful. Let me move on to the 6th step. So this is really, if you've been wondering, should I be posting? What should I be posting? This is what we're going to be addressing over the next 2 points. In terms of should you be posting, the answer is yes, absolutely. People are out there and researching their future travel arrangements. In terms of what your cadence should be, the answer I always give to everyone is the best cadence is a cadence that you can sustain, because what Instagram really cares about is not how often you post, but how consistently you post. So If you're working with reduced staff at the moment and you can only do 3 posts a week, then just do 3 posts a week and make sure those are the best posts that you can put out. Then, of course, if you've got more resources and you're able to post every day and maintain quality, then absolutely do this, because I've noticed that it does give you more reach in that way. But what matters the most here is going to be quality, and so I would rather you post less but better content than every day and not quite as good. And to the question, what should you be posting right now? There are really 3 types of content that I recommend, and it's not specific to the pandemic. It's something that I recommend way beyond the pandemic as well. The first type of content is what I call value add content, and that's really where you're going to be sharing your knowledge about your destination and your expertise. Luxury wedding planner is what's coming to my mind right now. So say you do weddings in Italy, you would be sharing a lot about Italy as a destination and your experience organizing weddings. For hotels, more specifically, it could be recommendations from your concierge of things to do around in the area. It could be a little tip, and it could be how-tos. I think we've seen a lot of recipes and things like that. This is brilliant. That's considered value add content. The second type of content that I recommend you to post is connection or more inspiration based content. And it's really the type of content that's going to not grow followers, but convert followers into fans. So it's really what's welcoming people into your world that's going to make them want to say, oh, I want to work with that person, or oh, I want to stay at this hotel. And so this is really where you're going to be sharing your story and providing inspiration, which you can do through Reels, for example. And if you want some ideas, just go on the Reels Explore page on Instagram and swipe through. I'm sure you'll see lots of travel ones that make you want to absolutely jump into the Reel so you can feel like you're at the property itself. Behind the scene content also works really well there. Anything that you do with your team that's quite inspiring, that's definitely worth posting about as well. And then the last type of content is promotional content. So promotional content doesn't always have to link to Book Now. And we'll talk a bit more about that at the end when I address the whole question about should you be promoting right now. But promotional content could be a link to book. It could be promoting your food delivery service if you have one for your restaurant, or it could be promoting a blog post that still counts as promotion as well. And again, if you have any questions, please do pop them in the chat and I will answer them at the end. So if you're going to be spending all this time on your content, then you might as well try and really understand what is working for you the best. And so as you post, and you can do that for past posts or future posts, I recommend you to check Post Insights. So when you click on the post, tap View Insights, swipe up, you'll get to this screen. That's the screen capture I have on my screen right now. And there are lots of different metrics you can look at, but the ones that I do recommend paying especially attention to at the moment are going to be this one here. This is saved, so it's the number of time your post was saved. And as I was saying earlier, when I was explaining the marketing and sales funnel, most people right now are researching. And so the best metric that's going to tell you whether people are liking what they're seeing and want to go back to it or not is going to be saved. Because if someone bookmarks and saves your content, it means they saw something that was interesting and they want people to get back to it later on, possibly when they're ready to book. So that's a really good metric to look at right now. Profile visits and reach, both very important. If your reach is high, I recommend checking your hashtags. It didn't all fit on my screen, but hashtags would be just below, just here. As well, obviously, profile visits, because it means people are coming to see what you're doing. Website clicks, still good to look at it. That being said, it might be lower than usual, and that would be completely normal because obviously people are holding off before they book. And my second to last step before I talk about the promotional aspect is, and the last thing really that you should be doing on every single day basis is connect. And I'm going to talk about 2 perspectives here. B2C and really those travelers that you're trying to connect with, as well as B2B with all of your partners and contacts. So on the B2C side, it's absolutely crucial that you respond to every comment that you have on your post, as well as your direct messages. There are 2 uses in Instagram. You've got the primary one and the general one. It's very important to check both. There's one of the 2, I can never remember which one it is. I think it's general, that often gets missed, and you might be missing questions from people that you could be answering here. So make sure you check both. And on the B2B side, B2B will benefit from the content you've posted no matter what. I think what is most important to do right now is going to be engaging with your existing B2B contacts so that you can remain top of mind. And you can do this really either from the hotel page, if your social media manager has a target list, for example, or if you have your own personal brand, your own personal Instagram account, and it's all optimized and used for work, you can do it through this account as well. And in addition to engaging with existing contacts, I do recommend researching for new contacts because it's a way to further grow your audience. So you still have a mix of B2B and B2C. And then the last step that I am going to talk about today is promoting. So should you be promoting right now? The answer is yes, there are bookings happening. And I know that from the work that I'm doing with my clients, booking happening for second part of the year for 2022 as well. But I think that there is a way to do so in a way that's not too in your face and it's a little bit more subtle. So I mentioned earlier, not every promotional post should end with book now. Or lead to book now. There's other posts that you can put out there to promote yourself in a more subtle way. And examples of that would be showing that you are in demand. So that's why it's good to share press features, courtesy of the wonderful team at Mason Rose, as well as posts from influencers that have come to your hotel in the past. And it's actually quite good if you can maybe leave a nice comment and tag them in, because then they're more likely to repost it on their own pages. And so you get exposure for free if they do that, because you'll get exposure to their audience. It's really good as well if you can share reviews from past clients. Maybe, one day a week, you just share a few reviews from past clients. You save that to a story highlight. It's a way to promote yourself without saying book now, because it will still impact on, someone reading something. It will still impact them and make them remember and think, oh, that really looks good. And then lastly, and perhaps even more importantly, I think it's absolutely crucial to be transparent about what your policy is. And if you're going to be doing a post when you encourage people to book now, you should maybe do like a Q&A on your stories where people can ask you any questions at all about about their stay and what happens if the restrictions change, that sort of thing. And do that regularly, because people will not necessarily remember. It might not be the same people looking at your stories. So I think it's worth doing regularly. Okay, so if you haven't already, feel free to pop some questions into the stage chat on the right-hand side of the screen, and I will be answering those now.
Fantastic. That was so good, Valerie. Thank you so much. I am sure that there will be lots of questions that people that will be wanting to know what's going on. I have actually had a few that have been WhatsApped to me. Oh, thank you, Odette. I know Mary has said that it was brilliant. Fiona, thank you. Odette, thank you so much. Lots of people are asking for the presentation. And for everybody listening, we absolutely will be sending it out. So you'll be able to watch it again and pause, Valerie, and go and have a look and certainly make use of it. Just a couple of questions that have come through, Valerie. One was, how many times a day or week would you recommend posting?
So never more than, unless we're talking Facebook, but in the case of Instagram, once a day if you can. If it's too much content, do less. 3 or 4 times per week is what I do most of the time for Mason Rose, and that performs well. So it really depends on what you have the resources to post without overwhelming yourself, because social media is obviously only a tiny part of a much bigger wheel.
Yeah. Great. And one more that's come through was, is there a website that you can recommend that can schedule your posts for you?
Yes, I recommend, there's a whole lot of different ones, but the one I recommend is called Later.
Okay. Yeah. Will you pop it in the chat for us?
Yep. Absolutely.
Oh, I'll take it. Fine.
Yeah, literally.
Okay. Later. Yes. Okay.
But you've got different ones. You've got Sprout Social. If you are looking for a free tool just to kind of get started, Facebook has its own scheduling tool, and it schedules to Facebook and Instagram. It's a little bit clunky, but it's still a good one. You can schedule carousels, which you can't do through some of the other tools. So definitely one to look at.
Fantastic. And then I think there's one more on here. Do you recommend deleting hashtags after using or posting them, or keeping them always on?
keep them on. If you don't want them to be visible, just pop them as the first comment rather than, and when you post, I don't mean afterwards. Pop them in as the first comment, this way it doesn't clutter your caption. Can I just go back to Fiona's question, because I've just realized I didn't understand it properly. Should you post at the same time every day? The answer is it depends on your insights. If on Tuesday most people are online at 8 p.m. and on Wednesday they're online at lunch, just whatever the best time when most people are online. It doesn't have to be the exact same time every day. And you can see your best time in your insights.
Ah, there we go. So I hope that's helpful, Fiona. Shout if you'd like it to be elaborated on. We have still got 2 or 3 minutes if everyone's got any other questions. Yes, so for any of the hotels who would like to know anything about them, or any of the buyers who have their own businesses, please do feel free to ask. But Valerie, if not, and there's no more questions, that was absolutely brilliant. Thank you. You've always been great. So lovely to have you on today.